Yes, yes, yes.
So,
No.
sure. So once again, good morning to all of you. It's still morning here. For me, it is only 7 o'clock. Not even 7 o'clock.
Okay.
So it's fine. So let me start my introduction. So I'm Dr. Kritika Subramanian Kala. I'm currently a postdoc fellow student in London South Bank University, and today, I will be presenting on the sustainable antimicrobial solutions to mitigate microbial induced corrosion in concrete pipes. So, uh, next, one first thing that we need to into this whole this we will be actually seeing what is microbial induced corrosion and why this problem is a concern, and if what is the antimicrobial solution for such a problem, and how it's its sustainability, and how we will give a solution which is actually sustainable and eco-friendly method, and also it doesn't cause an it is an circular economy, this circular economy, all the materials. So now through my this, I will be talking about the these are the variation outlines of my presentation, in which the introduction I'll be talking about the deteriorations and how the corrosion takes and its cause and effects on the concrete pipes. Then what are the different? I'll give a brief outline review, summarize you all about the antimicrobial materials that are being used in the construction materials and their types, mechanisms, so that it will be easy for me to go for the next session where I will be telling you what is the antimicrobial solution to this MIC and suitability assessment we can do from there. And next is that what is the drawback of using such type of animal and what we can do. Next and finally, I will be talking about the summary of the whole presentation and then the future scope. What is there in this MIC? So going to my first slide, as you can see on my right side, you can see all the images here. So these images are actually a different types of bacterias, and these bacterias and fungus, these are the major thing which actually deteriorate or damage the construction sector buildings and all these things. And also one more thing, that these are actually the medium where they grow with the humid and all these things. So going back, the microbial degradation has a great threat to all types of industries, particularly to the construction industry. So this threat can be so serious that it can cause a great damage to be the economic stability, human health, and the also socio-economy and all such money, cost, everything. So places like toilets in hospitals, airports, train station, water storage tanks can host microorganisms favorable and accelerate the flourishment and the spread. So one of the such major problem that is faced in the construction is biocorrosion. You can call microbial induced corrosion caused by deadly produced H2S gas by sulfur oxidizing or reducing bacteria. For example, Thiobalis species in sewage pipes, concrete sewage pipes. So this is one of the greatest problem which is actually fear this one. And on this in this sector, most of the development or what is the reason and how everything is still under debatable condition, because there are, even though despite having lot of solution for such thing, but the difference is major, is people still have a problem of understanding the basic and how these type of microbial induction takes place in the first place, how the microbial colonization happens, and then what is the actual reason, or if we add any microbial antimicrobial material, what is the actual reason behind how this is mitigating or how it is inhibiting the growth of the microbes. So both the section is still in a debatable process, even though there are very few studies going uh, on giving an proper answer for this microbial induced corrosion. So now as you can see, this is the image where I have shown you some of the examples of fungal growth and how the microbial corrosion, or the on my right hand side of the screen, you can see all the mosses and moldy form. And this is a stone heritage building where you can see all these fungal growth is there, and it is also corroded and all these things. And as you can see here, the fungal growth, and this is the fungal growth, which is where the white or pretty. So such type of fungal growth or the bacterial problem, what it will do is it will gradually destabilize your structure, and the stability gets lost. So once stability gets lost, you have the structure gets damaged, or the all the things get done. So majorly people, what they think is that repairing or rehabilitating such type of building is very expensive, quite expensive, and it is very difficult to also remove them. So, and the new material to be put in there is a wise decision. If at all the new material is there, then there has to be some antimicrobial solution added to them that can prevent such type of losses. So first is, let me go for the micro. So here we will concentrate only on the microbial induced corrosion. So microbial induced corrosion has been recognized as one of the main degradation of concrete based wastewater networks worldwide that increases the economic expenses as well as severe health problems and environmental concerns. So basically, it has been forecasted or estimated that annual repair expenses is almost about 85 million pounds in UK, or you can say 8.5 rupees crores, and per year, and it is forecasted to become a 30 crores in next 20 years. And hazardous gases emission comes from such type of MIC, where you have the H2S, CO2, CH4, ammonia, and volatile organic components. Cause these hazardous gas emits and causes severe health problems for those people who are working there, and as well as it mixes with the water, and the water that comes to us is also having such type of material, such type of gases incorporated in them, so it also causes severe health problems to us. So now majorly when we see this, that why this whole study or whole thing is needed is, literatures have reported many institute results pertaining to durability of the concrete against MIC. But they have found, and it is the one of the things is found, these are the things found is none resist completely this biogenic attack, no projected operating time. There is no projected operating time such that these hazardous gas emission can be prevented by any type of antimicrobial solution. No knowledge on initial biofilm process. How this biofilm here is that microbial colonization on the material. So next is what type of bacteria responsible for such type of colonization. So these are still unknown or debatable position. So that this type of study is very much needed for any person. Next, now let's go for how it happens. So microbial this in the induced corrosion can be described as a sequence of biogenic controlled sulfate reduction and reoxidation process. So this is on my right. You can see the how, for example, of the sewage pipe, and this is what happens in sewer atmosphere as well as the wastewater and sediments. And how what happens is I have given in this image. So here, if you see, there are usually initial fermentation process are causing transformation of complex organic molecules present in the sewage type and the water into low or molecular organics are combined by CO2 emission, and this thereupon consumed by sulfate respiration of sulfur reducing bacteria, as well as during the methane productions bacteria under strongly anaerobic conditions, resulting in the production of sulfide species. And these are the gases that are produced during this. So this production of this H2S actually lead to the increase in sulfuric acid ions. So this sulfuric acid ions, as it is increased, it is leading to the you have for example, sorry, you have MIC. So one thing is that when you give a solution or anything, This microbial induced now in the literatures has been said by has been told or has been divided into the form of, to make it easy, in three-step corrosion model. So the first corrosion model, how it happens. So now when I explain you how this microbial induced corrosion takes place, it is easily can be understood. So the first stage, uh, so basically the first stage is actually about uh, abiotic dominated by this one, where you have the carbonation of materials takes place. So the initial stage of the corrosion is dominated by abiotic acid base, resulting in carbonation and production of weak acids, such as you have thiosulfonic acids on polyc acids or something like that. This thiosulfonic acids and polysulfonic acids. And the second, when these weak acids are produced, so the neutrophilic sulfur oxidizing bacteria which are produced, neutrophilic sulfur NSOB, neutrophilic sulfur oxidizing bacteria at moist concrete surface. So what happens is that we all know that initially the concrete is an alkaline in nature, so which is around 12.5 to 13.5 pH. So when such abiotic acid-base carbonation reaction takes place, the pH starts come down to 10 pH to 10 to 10 9 10 to I think 9.3 or something like that. So when that comes down, this neutrophilic sulfur oxidizing bacteria at moist content around pH, when it comes below 9 to 9.5, they produce lot of sulfuric acid. And once they produce lot of sulfuric acid, they give the concrete material left out with dissolution of calcium hydroxide. And sometimes they also produce a secondary enterigyte, and this secondary enterigyte and secondary gypsum products that are in the for the concrete. When these secondary enterigyte and gypsum they are actually mass volume, they have a volume expansion around 227 percentage to 700 percentage increase of volume expansion takes place. So because of which you tend to get a crack in the concrete inside. And when these neutrophilic are further done, then the further one, the corrosion starts, the pH comes down, and the volume expansion and the pH, because of these products, the the pH comes down to the number of 4, pH 4. And this is where the acidophilic sulfur oxidizing bacteria, such type of bacteria dominate in the formation of biofilm, and which releases the H2S gas as S2 and SO32 minus gas, that further destabilize as well as this uh, destabilize your whole concrete pipes. So pH now less than 9, so whatever solution we are doing, uh, we have to maintain the pH is should be above 9 or above 10. That is more safer place. If you have pH less than 9, it is very much suitable for microbial colonization. And this is the chemical reaction which actually together forms, as you can see in the last, when the 3CaO, Al2O3 and all these things. So this is secondary enterigyte forming with the gypsum as a byproducts and all these things. When these form, they actually expands the volume, and we tend to get a cracks in such type of concrete pipes. So now the question is where and factors. So where we can find such type of this for example in a concrete sewer pipes, where we can find. So the corrosion is typically observed in the soffit of the manhole outlet, where the greatest shear between air stream and the pipe material exists, and in transverse section areas at the crown, at the part where the crown part along, it has a option of having a humid and moisture content present in the air, and it has an air, so that the oxidation and redox reaction can take place very easily at the crown. So such places only in the you have in the this one, in the concrete pipes MIC. So factors that affects is, the factors which affect or the something like, first is wastewater characteristics. So the water which has which is flowing through the concrete pipe is sulfate content. So more sulfate content, if it is there, the water contains more sulfate content, it is obviously it will lead to more sulfur problem. So because of the sulfur problem is there, so formation of lot of entry giant and calcium gypsums materials form. So they are very much suitable for microbial colonization. And DO is dissolved oxygen. So dissolved oxygen, if it is high, if it is high, then it limits the activity of the sulfur reducing bacteria and the conversion of sulfates to sulfide. So because of which, if more dissolved oxygen is present, then the MIC is not seen much. And the BOD is that biological dissolved oxygen. And even there also, it should be high enough such that the high sulfide production is there, so that you don't have any possibility of forming microbial colonization due to the production of sulfate present in them. And next is the pH. So how much of a pH is high, more than 10, it is more suitable. If, as I said in the before also, if the pH drops below 9, then the concrete has a high tendency to get a microbial corrosion, induced corrosion in them. Next is the temperature. So high temperature increases the microbial action. So it encourages the releasing of H2S gas. So the temperature should not be very much high. It should be maintained in the proper way, and how it is maintained, the construction practices has to be such a way or such a below the ground level, such that the temperature can be maintained. Next is that environmental conditions, where you say the relative humidity and atmospheric temperature. So here also relative humidity is very much important factor, because higher the relative humidity encourages more production of SRB, microbial colonization. And then atmospheric temperature also, it's again higher the temperature, it is more easy for the microbial colonization to happen. So it has to be maintained, it has to be proper there. And the concrete properties, if you see, it should not be, if the concrete is highly alkaline in nature, then it has no problem. For example, in case of CAC, calcium aluminum aluminate cements, and high alumina content, presence of high alumina content actually reduces the production of H2S gas or sulfuric sulfate formation. So because of which, and it also maintains the pH above 12. So because of so high alumina content cements are very good for the concrete pipes. And the porosity, the concrete has to be having less amount of porous in them, so that it does not, the cracks which forms due to expansion, it will not have any other possible destabilize the whole concrete structure. Next, age of the concrete. So this age of the concrete means that we need to change the concrete pipes after a few times, again and again. So instead of repairing a single point, so that the whole structure do not get destroyed. Next is microorganism characteristics. So the microorganism has two things. One is sulfur oxidizing bacteria, another is sulfur reducing bacteria. So sulfur oxidizing bacteria encourages the H2S production plus sulfuric acid in high MIC rates. So higher the MIC rates. So SRB is that it is responsible for formation of H2S gas alone. So we can easily we can easily find a solution to reduce SRB formation colonization, not the SOB colonization. And the thickness of the biofilm. So it depends, the repairing and rehabilitation methods depends on the thickness of the biofilm, which we have to do. Other process is that turbulence, that is flow velocity, where you have high flow increases the re-aeration among among the pipe. So because of which the growth of SRB is actually can be reduced. So for example, microbial colonization can be reduced. So this is more an important part. And the retention time, a long increased DOO present increases the long increased time, it's the same long increased time for the concrete sewer pipes where such type of SRB or microbial colonization taking place, and that period, that is also very problematic in nature. So we have to remove the, as I said in the before also, age of the concrete we have to keep in the mind, and we have to change regularly, and enough amount of ventilation is required for not allowing this such type of microbial things to come, because adequate ventilation limit the high H2S concentration. It it reduces automatically the production of MIC. So as you can see, the basic thing is that these type of pitting starts in the concrete, such type of pitting and such type of cracks comes in the concrete pipes. So because of which due to such type of factors, which I have already just now said, and when this type of comes and the immediate measurements has to be taken place. So now let's go for what are the solutions. So before going to use of antimicrobial solution, the first thing people get often confused is is that they don't understand one thing. There is a difference, highly difference between the sulfate attack and sulfuric attack. So what we are talking about the microbial induced corrosion is that sulfuric attack. So sulfuric attack is where you have both sulfate ions and the attack is also due to hydrogen ions. Whereas in ions, such type sulfate ions, it's like only the sulfate ions are present, are responsible for.
आपकी आवाज चली गई है मैम, आपकी आवाज नहीं आ पा रही है मैम।
Ma'am, you are not audible.
Kirtika, your voice is not coming.
Due to the voice of whale, already see sir.
थोड़ी देख रही हो।
हाँ।
मेरी वॉइस प्रॉब्लम मैम।
Hello. Excuse me, man. Hello.
Yeah. We asked to see his mic. Sorry for the interruption. She is rejoining us now, and she will continue the presentation. Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah, Kirtika, we are hearing your voice.
Oh, sorry for that, sir.
Oh, it's okay, no problem.
No. Now, where should I go back, or should I start from here itself?
Yeah, you start from the where you started, huh?
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you. So, is my screen visible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes, visible.
Yeah. Thank you so much. So, as I said, the evolution of antimicrobial constructions. So now the smart antimicrobials are in this construction, where 2 or more materials are carried out in a research inclined towards the newer technology. Now the classification of materials takes place. Now how these antimicrobials are classified. 1 is based on source of the material, and 2 is mode of action. So in the source of materials, it's like you have to have a natural polymer, synthetic polymer, metal ions, oxides, nanomaterials, and others. And these others can be also like zwitterian ion polymers, zeolites, etc. So when they are classified in the form of mode of action, they can be in the passive action or the active action. So in the passive action, you have a steric repulsion, electrostatic repulsion, low surface energy. And active action, it has a biocide releasing, contact killing, and immobilizing cations. So bactericidal effects of antimicrobials are usually, what happens is that they, whatever antimicrobials you add them, what they actually do. For example, these are the bacteria cells that are present. So you have all the plasmas and DNA, proteins, enzymes, everything present in them. So when these things happen, production of reactive oxygen species takes place during some chemical reactions. Proteins and enzymes denaturations takes place, leakage of intercellular contents, DNA degeneration and oxidative stress are produced, and disruption of membrane cell and destruction of cell wall. Such type of mechanisms takes place, because of which the bacteria is killed completely by antimicrobials. Sometimes they are even for example of anti-fouling agents. These are actually where you inhibit the growth of the bacteria by repelling them from the surfaces. So now passive antimicrobials, as I said, it is divided in the form of steric repulsion, electrostatic, and low end surface energy. This is arises from the repulsive forces possessed by antimicrobial polymer chain. Electrostatic interaction arises from attractive or repulsive forces between charged particles. That is, generally bacteria cells are negatively in charge, and the antimicrobial materials that we put are positive in nature. So they tend to attract or repulsive. So when you say they usually be repulsive, if it is repulsive, then it is anti-fouling agent. If it is attractive, it means that the antimicrobial material which has the same negative charge you apply, it has higher negative charge or higher power in such a way that they destroy the bacterial cells. So this disrupts the DNA and membrane of the bacteria and prevents the adhesion of the bacteria. So low surface energy, it means that they usually be hydrophobic or super hydrophobic material, which just makes the bacteria slide off, or you can just roll off easily from the surface of the bacteria. However, these materials are more prone to wear, that decreases the life expectancy of the antimicrobials. So the low surface energy is not that much suitable for such type of construction sector. Next is active microbials. So where you have a biocide releasing. So you have any biocides that are metal ions, polymer ions present in them. So which releases on such type of chemical reaction when it comes into contact with photocatalytic process or sometime. So such type, these actually produces ROS produce, that is reduced oxygen species, and then owing to its toxicity, it is generally used. But EPA government has restricted and characterized these biocides releasing based on the type and application. So contact killing is achieved by mechanobiocide action. So wherein the biocide activity occurs by stress exerted by the sharp spikes, and usually membrane rupture and DNA degeneration takes place. So immobilization ions also becomes activated only while coming in contact with bacteria, ruptures the membrane and cell wall, causing death due to production of ROS. Next is source of antimicrobial when you go for, now coming to the source. So where the first is metal ions and oxides, where you have nanomaterials also. So this is basically due to the hearts of acid-base theory or certain reduction potential reactions. So even usually what happens is that ion exchange reactions takes place when you have a metal ion oxides. And in that where you have ROS production and formation of lipid peroxides, and when they release, they gently intermingle with the thiol group of the bacteria or enzymes of the bacteria, and they stop the DNA replication so that they don't grow more. And this is what happens when you add a metal ion. And in terms of zinc as well as titanium oxides, and these actually work under the UV rays or the sunlight, where you once done, you have ROS production and all, which damage the DNA degradation. Next is the nanoparticles. As I said, it also has the same thing, same problem, same working principle of the metal, normal metal. So advantage is that as surface of the, especially relative to a small, big surface area is big. So biocidal action activities becomes more efficient. So choosing a nanoparticle is more wiser situation than a solution than the normal metal. So one type of new nanomaterials that are being used is that molybdenum dioxide. It is a transitional metal oxide with N-type semiconductor. This has very high, this is very lethal to the bacteria. So it kills, it destabilizes the protein and nucleic acids of the bacteria such that they produce ROS production and they don't grow more. Now polymers, you have man-made as well as natural polymers. So in polymer, you have again divided as polymeric biocides, biocide releasing, and Zwitterian polymers. So knowing all these things, Zwitterian polymers is a new one where you have both cations and anions present in them. They are generally super hydrophilic in nature. So, and also used as only anti-fouling agent. So they don't kill bacteria, they just repel the bacteria or they remove the or prevent the inhibition of the growth of the bacteria. That's it. So next, the natural polymer is that polysaccharides, which has cellulose, chitosans, proteins, and peptides. So most of the that they usually work under the electrostatic interaction, cationic group, damages of the bacteria cell wall and causing death. Next is other materials like zeolites are present. It's a nanoporous aluminum oxide silicates made of silicon, aluminum, and oxygen. And they actually work, they have the metal ions present in them, both acts as a cation and anion, and they tend to get physical interaction with the cell wall depression and disruption and the cell wall. And next is graphene, and from 2008, the graphene has started being used in the as a construction sector, which acts as an antimicrobial material. So these actually the membrane stress, oxidative stress, and wrapping isolation. This is how the main mechanism by which they kill the bacteria, and they very effective against deterioration of concrete. But graphene's ability is generally clustered due to very low water dispersion, which makes them very unpopular material. And when we come to carbon nanotubes, single-walled carbon nanotubes are better than the multi-walled. So they are generally produce excessive oxidative stress in them, which makes interfering the bacterial DNA replication, killing almost all the bacteria within minutes. So even all these things are there, this is not still used in the concrete sewer pipes because of its expensive nature. And also not only expensive nature, the construction of such carbon nanotubes using in the concrete pipes is expensive, not the carbon nanotubes. Next, when we come for now, knowing all these things, as I said, these are the ways how the antimicrobials work. Now, these antimicrobial solution to induced corrosion, let's see. So first is, generally people, as I said, they forget to understand that you are not dealing with sulfate ions at sulfate attack, we are dealing with sulfuric acid attack. So because of which people still tend to put sulfate resistant cement in concrete sewer pipes. So why? Because they have low C3A present in them, and which contain sulfate ions which can neutralize by sulfate resistant cement. However, it is not at all effective against sulfuric acid attack. So this is not much suitable for any type of concrete pipes. Next is that this is the biggest and the best solution for any cement type, like use of calcium aluminate cement. So here generally large neutralization capacity takes place. So where you have lot of alumina content present in them, and the precipitation of alumina gel, which actually makes what happens is that this alumina gel, which will keep the pH above 10 for always for the calcium aluminate cement, because of which this area will become unsuitable for any microbial colonization. So when, for example, even though if the production of H2S or the bacterial problem is more and the pH is below 4 or anything, alumina gel tends to desolute, and when they desolute, they becomes aluminum ions, and these aluminum ions are very much lethal to the bacteria. So bacteria, and they kill bacteria instantaneously. So lower and also that area is lower affinity to H2S gas production. So because of which this is very much used in the concrete sewer pipes to make a concrete sewer pipes, calcium aluminate cement. Next is when we come for the supplementary cementitious materials. So when we have supplementary cementitious material, fly ash, DGBS, slag, silica fumes, etc., these are usually used to decrease the pore size, volumes, and reduced permeability, reduced content of calcium hydroxide, and improve ITZ in the material in the concrete. But what happens is that they may not always show the benefit against the comparison with the plain OPC. Literatures have shown that these, as well as the conventional OPC concrete, both work against sulfuric acid in the same manner. So it's not as effective. As you can see, this is also an example of how, even though adding a supplementary cementitious material, the cracks and this all types of small pitting, everything takes place. Next is that antimicrobial solution. So nowadays what happens is that bactericidal characteristics of heavy metal ions could provide a novel, sustainable, and economic answers to many aspects. So the toxic effect of heavy metal ions on bacteria is based on, as I said, ion exchange reaction, where you have metal ions as a positive cation in nature, and the negative ions are the bacterial cell membrane. So they generally get an ion exchange reaction in which the production of ROS, oxidative burst, oxidative stress, everything comes, and they kill the bacteria completely. So these reactions are suggested to inhibit the life essential activity for osmotics, as well as disturb the osmotic stability of the cell, resulting in leakage of intercellular constituents. So other solutions, if you go for that, then these are, I have given in a table form what are the different solutions takes place till date used. One is bioconcrete, where bacterial cell incorporator precipitates calcium carbonate, which self-heals the cracks formed due to MIC. And this is currently very new area. Very recently in this year and previous year only, people have thought of doing bioconcrete in the concrete sewer pipes. But it is not, it is only still in the laboratory scale and it has not been applied in the practical field. Next is that the newer material that are being used is geopolymer concrete. This has high resistance to acidic environment, aids in inhibiting the MIC concrete pipes, and the use of nitrate reducing bacteria. This nitrate reducing bacteria limits the H2S production, so increase the redox potential, but it is suitable only against sulfur oxidizing bacteria, not sulfur reducing bacteria. Next, when we come for the other important thing is that people are still now using the Zwitterian polymers in the concrete mid-sewer pipes, which is super hydrophilic in nature that prevents and direct contact between the bacteria and surface, thus repel them. And now people started using graphene. Oxidation and acid resistance of graphene. So even though all these names are there, they are still in the laboratory scale, but none of them are in the actual practice of in the formation of concrete sewer pipes. So this is how I wanted to show, this is how the bioconcrete works. So I'm sorry, this is how the bioconcrete works, where you have the calcium precipitation of self-healing bacteria. And the drawback of this is that survivability of self-healing bacteria is still unknown, how it survives and how it happens, at what extent it can help. So that is still under evaluation. And nitrate reducing bacteria is also production, but it is suitable only for SOB, not SRB. So it is not wise using them. Next is geopolymer concrete. As I said, they have the high acid resistance. They generally avoids the formation of calcium-rich acid dissolved hydration products, allowing it to have a high acid resistance. So because of this, the reason geopolymers are nowadays proved or found to be a better solution for microbial induced corrosion. Next is 3D printing concrete. Now everything is coming under the 3D printing. So high precision 3D printing has also been recently fabricated. That too super hydrophobic surfaces. Use of nanoparticles and geopolymer 3D printing based concrete pipes will be very much effective, as well as nature inspired nano textured surface like cicada wings and dragonfly lotus leaf. These are newly designed bio-inspired design for 3D concrete printing that will definitely bring out the effectiveness of killing bacteria. Now, another important part of what everybody is doing is that you simulate how these bacterial adhesion happens and how the destruction, and learn to know how much we can affect the antimicrobial solution will be effective. So through these molecular dynamic simulations using all the softwares like LAMPS, NAMD, Amber, Gromax, Abalone, Material Studio, etc. And this ability to individually manipulate and simulate the wide range of physical parameters, this helps in paves the robust unified theory of the antimicrobial materials. Eventually, this aids in reduction of tedious experimental procedures and saves time. So this is by mimicking the actual phenomena of bactericidal activity, it can help us in strengthening our understanding and the probable solution, for giving a probable solution that are responsible for the antimicrobial action can be done. So this is how, for example, this is how the microdynamics looks. And when you see here, this is this is generally bacteria, and these blues are the bacteria, sorry, the antimicrobial polymers, or if used, this is how they destroy the cell wall and all these things. And this is the whole MD solution, dynamic model for any bacteria, which has all the cell walls, all other things that are there. So now, knowing all these things, now it is also important to know what are the drawbacks of such type of antimicrobial solution. The first is that development of, over the course of time, the development of antimicrobial resistance that are very much nowadays a big problem where a lot of research is going on. Next is mishandling of nanopowders or nanomaterials, causing you have health problems, inhaling them, you get lung problems and all these things. Next is accidental release to the soil or water. They also produce pollution. They also give rise to pollution. And there is no proper guidelines to follow how to use them and to what extent we have to use them to become lethal for bacteria, not to human beings. So the best solution is that addition of natural polymers, and addition of such antimicrobial agents during the production of cement or the concrete in a factory environment will perhaps at least be more engineered way to achieve the deterministic antimicrobial performance and to avoid any mishandling of the accidental sites. So now I'll go back to my summary and the future scope. So the microbial degradation has a great threat to all types of industries, particularly especially in the construction industry. And these microbial induced concrete corrosion represents one of the main degradation mechanism of surface infrastructure, thereby raising the high economic expenses and severe health problems. Or as long as concrete surface conditions support microorganism growth, biogenic acid production will be initiated, which is accompanied by subsequent chemical reactions and the degradation of cement-based construction material. Antimicrobials kill microbes using the production of ROS, physical contact, or release of metal ions, which interferes the DNA growth and ultimately ruptures the cell wall. So this is how the antimicrobial works. So recently, bioconcrete, geopolymer, and 3D printing concrete are the best solution for biocorrosion. And also nowadays, the use of smart technology, where 2 or more different antimicrobial solutions work together in the combination to make in the aim of killing the bacteria, and use of molecular dynamic simulations will help in understanding and solving the problem. Thank you.